To say that the Subaru WRX is deeply rooted in rally racing would be like the understatement of the year. Rally greats like McRae, Mackinnon, Burns, and Solberg all at one point drove a car donning a Subaru badge. Now, while it has been some time since Subaru last entered the World Rally Championships, the WRX, however, man, that has been entering competitions worldwide, like in North America, where it has been dominating. As for the road-going car, however, it seems to have attracted some rather unwanted attention because of its new appearance. Despite some of its more off-road inspired design, the 2024 Subaru WRX is actually more at home on-road. Now, Subaru claims this to be as the rebirth of a rally legend, capable of being a daily drive and at the same time, high-performance driving. So they say. Now, on this episode of Behind the Wheel, find out if indeed there is more to this book than just the plastic-clad cover. Now that we've done the preface, Chapter 1, its price. No, I'm not going to do this as a book, by the book, whatever. Look, whip out the AutoDeal app, which is available on Android and iOS very, very soon. And it will tell you that the Subaru WRX comes in at 2,608,000 Philippine pesos for the manual, and then 2,758,000 Philippine pesos for this CVT. Now, I will definitely agree with you that that is quite a penny. It's a lot of coin for this car. But perhaps if you stick around till the end of this episode of Behind the Wheel, and I just might convince you that that price isn't so bad after all. For starters, it sits alone in our market. Its closest rivals aren't even available in our country, which are, say, the Elantra N, or the Golf GTI, or even the Civic Si. Those are the closest rivals. The ones that you can get in our country would be like the Toyota GR Yaris, but that is only 3 doors and it's a hatch. And it's a lot smaller than this car, no practicality. Or let's say you can get your hands on a Honda Civic Type R. Okay, sure, it's got the same amount of practicality, but number 1, good luck on getting your hands on one. Number 2, it's also a million Philippine pesos more. And number 3, to be completely honest with you, the suspension of the Type R is, well, a bit more brutal. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which has had a lot of people up in arms about it, its exterior. Up front, it is very sharp and sleek. You have LED headlights and fog lamps. You obviously can't miss the large hood scoop, which WRXs are known for. And when you go down to the lower half of the bumper, it's all black plastic. I'd say, well, the thought is this, it's generally okay. With the AutoDeal orange color, it does stand out quite a bit. And when you go to the side, it gets a bit more, well, excessive. Plastic cladding on a sports sedan. I never thought I'd see the day, but yet here we are. In fact, there was so much buzz on this car when it first came out that people were not only up in arms, but surgeons around the world were going, who's your supplier? That's a bit much, but you catch my drift. But we're in an era where Lamborghini has the Huracan Sterato, and Porsche, oh my God, has the 911 Dakar. That thing is to drool for. All of which are rally-inspired and have plastic fenders too. I'd understand why someone would like this look. It's definitely polarizing, but nothing offensive at all. Well, maybe everything except the AutoDeal orange. More things you'll find down the side, repeaters on the side mirror, 18-inch wheels, which, by the way, look pretty damn good. Wrapped in 40 series tires, you got 135 millimeters of ground clearance, and again, more black plastic cladding that reaches all the way to the rear. You know, I'll say this. This car was first introduced back in 21, and when it was, people were up in arms because of the way that it looked, which is understandable because they were saying that it was kind of looking like a crossover wannabe. I get that. But now that it's 2024, Jack and I, even Earl, are staring at this car and saying, it's actually quite nice. Much like when Porsche first introduced the Panamera. Yes, I'll say that the first gen still really looks like crap, but as it moves along, it got a little better. Like this car, with a little bit of plastic surgery, it's gotten better looking, don't you think? The rear, however, oy boy, not so pretty, is it? There are some design elements on this car that I can easily get along with at the rear, like, for example, the quad tips. Very, very nice. You've got these sharp lights. Nice as well. I can even get on board with the spoiler, but the general look of the rear, not so. It's like pretty, 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 and then, oh. It looks tacked on. It looks unfinished. It looks like the final season of Game of Thrones, and I never even saw that. It's the whole thing. I've never seen an episode, actually. When you open her up, you are looking at a large amount of space, which is 414 liters of space, which is big enough and then some to carry, say, luggage that you need to check in and 2 hand carry bags and a lot more space up on top. You can also carry much longer items because the rear seats also fold. Now, aray, that hurt. Oh. Now, while most sedans will most definitely sit up to 3 passengers, here in the WRX, you're better off with 2 larger sized adults at most because the center tunnel is quite high. This is Jack's normal driving position. He is a man of almost 6 feet. So as you can see, I do still have a lot of legroom, and the headroom is actually still pretty good here at the rear. I like the black lining too. That's very nice. The seats are not the best of leather, but I will say it's decent. Add to that is the fact that it is swayed in the center. So when the driver, say Earl, who is a racer, loves to go around really, really fast, you won't be thrown around the back because Earl's a racist that way.
Wait, what?
I said what I said. You have air vents here up front and in the center. You've got 2 charging points that are type A. You have a center armrest with 2 cup holders. However, it's a little bit shallow because if you were to take, give me the bottle, Earl. If you were to take a normal sized bottle of Jack's, by the way, it kind of comes loose if, again, Earl decides to become a little racist.
I'm not a racist.
I said what I said, Earl. Hold that. On the door, you've got some faux carbon fiber, which I think is nice. And then red stitching can be found also on the door and on the seats as well. There are also bottle holders on either side of the door, right there. And as I mentioned earlier, if you need more space, the seats do easily come down. Jumping into the cockpit, and to be frank, it's a bit of a hit and miss at the same time. The hits for me are the electronic seats, which are really, really great. And obviously, you have a telescopic steering wheel to get you to your proper driving position. But if not that, then this system, because of its EyeSight technology, also recognizes the driver and who the driver is, and it will move the seat accordingly and the mirrors and the settings on the audio and your air controls to the exact position that you programmed it to. That's actually very cool. I like the seats as well. You can tell that they are bolstered, but it's kind of an oxymoron because it's bolstering that's supposed to keep you in play, but it's forgiving at the same time. So even larger passengers and drivers such as Jack don't feel so cramped inside this automobile, and their backs don't exactly hurt after a long drive. I like the fact that there's some faux carbon fiber that can be found very minimally around the automobile, and I like this center part of the dashboard because it's actually pretty soft. Some of the misses include, well, the main dashboard up on top is sort of like scratchy plastic up there and up here. Then there's also a lot of piano blacks inside this car, most egregiously on the shifter, which you're going to be touching that almost all the time. There's a lot of piano black there. There's a lot of piano black on the infotainment screen. And really, it would have been better off if there was the same material that's found here on the steering wheel, which is sort of like a matte black. It's actually very nice. You have an 11.6 touchscreen infotainment system that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and also doubles as your reverse camera as well. You have a trip computer in the center, flanked by, and I love it, 2 analog gauges because it is a Subaru. You have an auto-dimming mirror and, of course, a sunroof up on top. So as I mentioned, really, it's a bit of a hit, it's a bit of a miss. It's basically what you'd expect from Subaru, really, but I wanted a bit more from it because of its elevated price. What I'm sure is going to be a hit will be its drive, and it will make up for its price in more ways than one. But before we do consider liking and subscribing our channel because we create all these videos just for you guys. Under the hood is a 2.4-liter turbocharged boxer engine that pushes out 271 horses and 350 newton meters of torque, mated to a CVT. Now, it's quite surprising because the power comes in pretty smooth for a turbo, but the fun is kind of cut short because the car redlines at just 6,000 RPM. Boo-hoo. But before the redline, yeah, power comes in pretty smooth and quick. Here on the twisties, the all-wheel drive system and the chassis really make you feel secure and locked in. And then to add to that, the boxer engine with the 350 newton meters of torque just adds excitement into the mix. Oh my goodness. You just want to keep going. It pushes you into the road and just keeps going, man. Oh, Jack, hold on, buddy. Now, while that's all well and good, on the other hand, while the steering is sharp, I mean, you turn it to the left and it'll go left, you turn it to the right and it will go right. It just feels, to be truthful, it feels a little detached in the sense that it is an electronic steering, but there's barely any resistance on the steering whether you're taking the twisties with speed. It doesn't lack confidence, but how should I say this? The communication between the road and the driver, there is some, but it feels a little bit distant. I would like a little bit more feedback on the steering, a little bit of vibration, a little bit of resistance even, just so that I know when the car is about to lose it or not. That is, of course, when you are pushing it. On the daily drive, however, that's probably a little bit better. The CVT in here is actually, I should say it's pretty clever. It simulates gears very, very well, although it's just a band and programming, right? But what's great about it is that when you're taking it into twisties and you want to push into a corner and whatnot, it keeps you in the proper rev range. So you've always got power beneath your wings. I'm not trying to do a Bette Midler or anything, but it's just that it's quite impressive, really. This may be, it just could be, one of the better, or if not best, CVTs I've ever driven. Oh, that's quick. It's really, really quick. And there's no punch per se when you're driving it in manual. I mean, it doesn't throw you back your head like that, but you can tell that the power is still continuously spooling and pushing and pushing and pushing. And yet, the only downside about all of this is that it stops at the red line of 6,000 RPM because honestly, I just wanted to keep going. I wouldn't mind like a rev of 13.
What? That's like a motorcycle, bro. What the heck are you talking about?
I was actually thinking more Formula One. Now, while that's all well and good, I just wish that the quad dip exhaust at the back gave a little bit more je ne sais quoi, I don't know what, excitement. I know that the car itself is excitement, but a little bit of a, I don't know, flex out the back wouldn't have hurt, like, at all. But honestly, if you want maximum enjoyment in a WRX, most certainly the manual is the way to go. But as for CVTs, yeah, this one does a really great job. When you are done with the twisties, acting like a hooligan and not listening to Jack, so you drive properly inside the city as we are right now, in stop-and-go traffic or on the highway, the CVT just works absolutely smoothly. As best as it was when we were pushing it in the twisties, on the highway, there's no clunkiness to it, it's not clumsy, it doesn't have that rubber band effect that you know CVTs to be, none of that. It's very, very intelligent. Now, when it comes to the NVH of the automobile, okay, the wind noise may not be an issue, but tire noise is. However, it is somewhat acceptable considering what they are. They're wide and they're skinny. And unfortunately, logic will dictate that the noise of the tires will slowly creep in. In terms of the vibrations, however, that really caught me aback in a great way because there's barely any. And it shocks me because it is, after all, a WRX. So it has the pedigree of being a sports sedan. I expected it to be a little bit of a roughneck, but no. I'm not saying it's ready to have tea with the Emperor of Japan, but this guy is definitely not coming at you in jeans and a tattered shirt. It's quite well dressed, quite well behaved, really. The overall general comfort of the car is actually very good. The seats combined with the easy suspension, it's very good, easy for the daily drive, as I've mentioned like a broken record already. It's just that if you are a weekend warrior and are buying this automobile simply to drive it, the wheels off it during the weekends, you might be found wanting because you might want a stiffer suspension. Not naman as stiff as the Type R, but something close to that. I will say, however, that sans that, because this thing is so well equipped with the EyeSight, with the driver assist systems like lane keep and adaptive cruise, it really feels like you want to be able to have this car 6 days a week inside the city and 1 day outside of the city, and it feels like it really can do both. It's a good combination of, well, smarts and excitement. But be prepared, because if you're going to take this car and do that much driving, the returns aren't spectacular. See, in the city, it's doing about 6.5 kilometers per liter. And on the highway, 14. Good daily drive, great weekend car. Put them together, and it's 2,758,000 Philippine pesos. Is it worth it? The 2024 Subaru WRX does come in at a pretty penny, admittedly, but it does sit in a unique position, as we mentioned. Look, you've got the Honda Type R, which comes in at 1,000,000 Philippine pesos more, and to be honest, it's a bit too brutal, in my opinion, to be a daily drive. You've got the GR Yaris. Yes, much more comfortable, but it's also smaller. And then the same goes for both those vehicles, which is number one, good luck in getting one, and number two, they only come in manuals. Great as a driver's car, but not so good as a daily, especially when this comes in with a CVT, a darn good one too. It's got great power, it's got better than decent technology, and it's got one thing that those two cars don't have, which is when you drive it, you're not exactly going to come out of it with a strained back. On the cover, it may not be a bargain and its looks can throw other people off, but if you delve deeper and read between the lines, it really is a great blend of comfort and excitement that'll keep you hooked.